We shall fight on the seas and oceans. We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air, whatever the cost may be. We shall never surrender.
That they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom!
We are dangerous to the status quo in this country.
Join We Are Change Fresno.
And now here's your host, Stuart Webb and Sam Shaney.
Hello, friends. Welcome to We Are Change Fresno on 1680 AM. Week 10 of our broadcast. We're going to cover a lot of different things. We're going to try to keep it to 4 topics, but that won't happen since we have our own president playing golf while the world burns in this country and around the world. So we're gonna start off with some California news, and then get into the police state and some other issues. Sam, what do we got?
Well, we have today, Stuart. Thanks for coming down here. Appreciate it. This is show 10. We need some help with sponsors. So if you guys like what we're saying and you like freedom and liberty and you feel like you want to fight for it, go ahead and give us a call. You can find us on Facebook and go to our YouTube channel, hit us up there, and support the broadcast because we are trying as hard as we can to raise public awareness about the New World Order that's coming down on us like a ton of bricks and the domestic police state here at home. This hostage taking that happened in Stockton, there was a bank robbery and a hostage was taken and there was a police chase. And during that chase, the hostage was shot 10 times by the police and killed. And so, Stuart, we see that this increased militarization of the police, and the police are not accountable to anybody. So should police just be allowed to shoot and kill people with no accountability? Are police above the law now in America?
I believe they are. I believe they have a license to kill. That's why I try to stay very far away from them. And it's not a shot at all police. I know there's good police everywhere, but they do have a license to kill, considering that we haven't seen any of them recently get charged with murder for killing someone that was unarmed. So I believe they have a license to kill. This woman it's a very unfortunate situation in Stockton with these bank. It seems that there's bank robberies all the time now, and they're stealing federal debt notes. It's unbelievable. I just feel very sorry for that community and communities all around the United States, is because we're living in like a third world country now. I mean, when we really look at it, I mean, 90 million people are getting government assistance, and they have no job. So it's almost like I don't want to blame them for trying to rob banks to maybe do a little bit better than they're doing. And then I also don't really blame the police fully, because they have to assess the situation. And these people, these criminals that are robbing banks, I mean, they have guns, they have AK-47s, they're taking hostages. It's a mess. And really what we need to understand is we need to get back to the free market so businesses can actually operate, so that these people don't have time to rob banks, okay? We shouldn't have time to rob banks in a free market. There should be things to do, jobs, producing. We should be able to produce things, but that's not happening. And as the collapse continues, they bring in the police state, and the free market is just disintegrates.
Corruption continues to grow, Stuart. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department was found to go ahead and falsify arrest warrants, and they're giving us false data. And they need to be held accountable because they're not above the law, and they can't just make it up as they go. There is a Bill of Rights and Constitution and the rule of law in this country, unless we want to devolve into that third world banana republic, which it seems like we're going at full speed here. They need to be held accountable and follow the same laws they expect the general public to follow, because you can't go around and issue false arrest warrants and just make up your own law out there, law enforcement. And we appreciate the good ones out there that are doing their job, but with no accountability, the criminal element and corruption will run rampant, which is what we see and what we're seeing now.
Yeah, they're saying that at least 2 people are released every day because they were They were arrested on warrants that
Made
didn't
up
even
warrants.
made up warrants. So in the private market, you would be fired or at least written up for this kind of behavior. But of course, if you're a government employee or a police officer, the law doesn't apply, and it doesn't matter. The worse you do, it seems you get more funding. So of course, the judge shouldn't grant immunity. But what is he going to do? Fire the police chief? Fire police officers? No, of course not. Remember, that's not allowed. Okay, it's very hard to fire people that work for the taxpayers, which doesn't make any sense to me.
Look, no one's denying that policing this insane world is a tough job, but they should be held to a higher standard than the rest of the general public because of the authority that's been entrusted with them, okay? Stuart, the LA Times reported last Sunday that the LA Police Department is lying about their crime stats. They're actually underreporting violent crimes to pad the statistics to make them look better. How can we improve anything if they're lying about the actual data? We can't.
Yeah, one of the crimes that was apparently a non-violent crime or a minor assault was a man stabbing his wife in the face with a screwdriver. So I don't know why that wouldn't be a serious crime. I don't know why the guy is not in jail.
Well, they're getting more funding for saying they are decreasing crime when they're actually not. They're lying, and that's fraud.
Yeah, that's the real problem. I mean, not to mention that problem of actually the violence. That's not. We're not even solving the problems with the violence, but they're actually, like you said, it's fraud. So how are we going to solve this situation? I don't know, but maybe it's protest, but I don't know. Maybe you might get shot by the police if you protest now. We need to make our public officials and our just public sector workers. We need to hold them accountable, and we need to start firing more of them. Okay, we need to elect people that are going to fire them. Okay, because this is just unbelievable. I mean, they'll probably say that Fresno is a great place to live and that there's no crime next as well.
It's unreal, Stuart. And we see the police state in full force in Ferguson, Missouri, where there was a black man shot by the police. We still don't know any of the details, but we do know that during the riots there, which are wrong, because why would you go burn down your own neighborhood? If you had a problem with the police shooting someone, you would go to the police and state to them what your grievances are, not go burn down your neighborhood liquor store. So that doesn't make any sense. But that goes to speak to the degeneration of our society and the mindlessness of it all. But the Ferguson police during those riots and looting stood down. And the only stores that were left standing and unscathed were stores with owners who had firearms and stood up for their Second Amendment. And the looters didn't go and rob the tattoo parlor. And I think it was a edible shop and another shop. And they were all standing guard, citizens taking action, standing up for themselves, not relying on the police, because we all know the police are going to get there too late. And we saw them stand down during these riots. And so the next day, we see them roll out in full military attire. They're wearing, this is the Ferguson Police Department, is wearing gas masks. They're sporting short-barreled AR variant rifles, which are very similar to the military M4. They're wearing camouflage fatigues. And it makes you wonder, is this a picture out of Afghanistan? Are they fighting Al-Qaeda? Or are they fighting the peaceful protesters in Ferguson, Missouri? And we know that they shot the press there with rubber bullets and tear gas. So where's our First Amendment?
Yeah, Joe Biggs was shot by rubber bullets. And he was just peacefully reporting the situation. Look, police, if the looters and criminals burn down a building that has nothing to do, a business that has nothing to do with anyone who shot the kid. It was the police that shot the kid. They burned down a building. You don't arrest them for doing that. I mean, there was a job to be done there. Make sure all the people start investigating everyone who did that, who burned down the building.
The real criminals.
Not come out the next day and say no one can speak freely, no one can protest. You must go back to your house, stop filming. I mean, this stuff is being recorded. We're hearing the police say this to the press.
It's right out of 1984.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that movie Soylent Green. I mean, this is no longer a peaceful protest, blah, blah, blah. I mean, literally, it sounds like it on the megaphone, and it's pretty scary.
They're telling the press, turn off your cameras.
Telling the press to turn off the cameras. Because
they tear-gassed Al Jazeera.
Yeah.
It looked like a war. It was a war zone.
Yeah, and so why are the police arresting criminals, but then people come out the next day that had nothing to do with the looting and the burning of the building, the criminal actions, they had nothing to do with it, and they're just peacefully protesting, but the police treat them like they're terrorists, like they're criminals, when they're doing something that it says in their First Amendment that they can do, okay? And that's what those looters should have been doing, but obviously those are just ignorant people that live in poverty, and you can hardly blame them, but they do need to be responsible for the actions. And police should have been arresting all those people. I mean, we saw video footage. There was a ton of people looting that store. Why aren't they in jail? They were committing criminal actions. But no, it's not about that. It's about getting rid of the police. Let the criminal act go on, and then use it as an excuse to take all the people that didn't do anything. They use it as an excuse to take our liberties.
There's a photo of the police sniper with his AR-15 rifle sitting on top of a Bearcat armored vehicle, pointing his rifle right at the press. So that is a direct violation of our First Amendment there, okay? These are peaceful reporters trying to tell us the story about what's going on, being threatened with military force by the Ferguson Police Department. That is fundamentally wrong. That is not America.
Yeah, why? And these police, they think that they're going to be treated differently than when they're in civilian clothing. How about their family? You know, you have a cousin. What if he's walking down the street and one of your comrades in arms, I guess, just decides, oh, he's not a peaceful protester, I'm going to shoot him. Well, sorry, that's what you get. See, it's about putting the police against the American people when it's the globalist bankers, okay, that are actually creating this collapse by debasing the currency that we have and giving handouts, stealing from people that actually produce by law, taking from them. That's how you create a collapse. That's how they're doing it. And then they tell the police, and I know police, you want a paycheck. I mean, that's really what it gets down to. You want a paycheck and you're just doing your job. Some police want to be out there shooting people. I understand, but that's a small percentage. A lot of them they understand that they have a job to do, but their commanding officers are telling them to do something that's unconstitutional. But what are they supposed to do? I mean, they're not. Honestly, the police need to smarten up and realize that these actions are going to be used against you. I mean, you think it's all going to be fine and dandy when you go back to your neighborhood? No. Okay? You're not always a cop. And ultimately, when the United Nations just invades this country or some kind of globalist military force decides that we're going to invade America because they're no longer a sovereign nation. Once that happens, it won't matter if you're police. It won't matter.
Stuart, the chickens are coming home to roost. Since 2006, the Pentagon has distributed 432 mine-resistant armored vehicles to local police departments. It has also doled out more than 400 armored vehicles, 500 aircraft, and 93,000 machine guns. That's not to protect and serve the people. That is to control the people under military martial law, which is what they're bringing on.
Machine guns, 93,000 machine guns, you say?
Yes.
So why are we even having a discussion about banning assault rifles, assault weapons? I mean, it's pretty clear that we want our police here in the United States to basically be armed to the teeth like they were in Baghdad. So I just don't understand. That's why the gun control argument is just, it's all a joke, okay? I mean, folks, we have to take a quick break. Here's a word from our sponsor, FresnoForward.com.
Are you tired of boring local news coverage? Then log on to FresnoForward.com, the Central Valley's #1 source for independent, local, and alternative news and views. FresnoForward.com is updated daily, bringing you stories on government corruption, local activism, Fresno culture, and so much more. Did I mention FresnoForward.com has no ads or signups required? FresnoForward.com. You'll love it.
Welcome back. I'm your host, Stuart Webb, along with my co-host, Sam Chaney. It's our second segment of the hour. Thank you for joining us. Sam, what do we have on our second segment?
Continuing to explain how and why all this civil unrest and militarization of local law enforcement is happening. In 1990, Congress passed a National Defense Authorization Act, and we know that the newer ones in 2012, 13, 14 have a clause in there that says they can indefinitely detain you. But going back to that, the act that they signed in 1990, it says, quote, transfer of excessive personnel and property from the Defense Department to local law enforcement. And so it's been going on since 1990, written into the National Defense Authorization Act, passed by your Congress. So if you want to blame anybody, blame Congress, because they know exactly what's going on. Go to war over in the Middle East or wherever, all over the world where the American empire goes to war. And then when they're done with those weapons of war, they bring them back home, because they know if the American people ever do wake up, they're going to be pretty upset about what's been going on in this country. And they may need to be met with force. And so that's why we see this massive militarization. And real quick, I want to give Rand Paul credit for an article he wrote in Time Magazine, who I don't give any credit because Time Magazine's a globalist mouthpiece, but at least it's mainstream enough and getting out there, where he says we need to end this local law enforcement militarization because it's easy to see where it's going.
Yeah, and ultimately it comes down to Congress. Congress can impeach the president. Congress can end all the wars.
In the funding for them.
Literally end the funding. They don't have to vote. In fact, they just recently voted. My representative didn't even take a vote, Devin Nunes, but they voted to just give Israel over $200 million. Just there you go, $200 million for what's going on. That's coming out of our pockets that we're going to have to pay for. It's not even coming out of our pockets yet because we don't have the money. It's just invisible, imaginary currency from the Federal Reserve, but we're going to have to pay for it. Okay, and so I don't agree with any of that. We could just not fund Israel. They're not our country. We don't need to be funding Israel. It's not the United States. We can't afford it, okay, to just give people money. So people that agree with foreign aid, you better agree with welfare here. Be consistent, okay? Foreign aid is the same as welfare domestically. You can't be inconsistent on that, okay? Understand that. It's not a matter of national security. It's just a waste of money. It's welfare for other countries. But Congress could end the Federal Reserve, impeach the president, stop the funding for all this stuff. Actually, we haven't even declared war on anyone that we're at war with right now. So they could just, Congress needs to start acting. Boehner said he wasn't going to impeach the president, even though, he's sued him multiple times. It's all show. It's all for theater. Nothing's happening. So all those conservatives who think that the Republican Party is actually representing you, they're not. They're just going along to get along.
We're being played like suckers because the Pentagon, along with the U.S. Department of Defense, is funding research programs at universities to model the dynamics of risks and tipping points for large-scale civil unrest across the world under the supervision of various U.S. military agencies. The multi-million-dollar program is designed to develop immediate and long-term warfighter relevant insights for senior officials and decision makers. They are engineering this collapse, like we continue to preach to you on this show. The global economic collapse, the civil war in this country is being engineered. They're studying us. We are just rats in a lab in a maze to them. It's all on record. It's disgusting. They're guilty of treason, and we need to arrest the international bankers who are pulling all the strings behind it, because we know that they are criminals and illegitimate with their debt-based fiat monetary system that continues to destroy America.
Yeah, an article came out today. $2.46 trillion in tax revenues that the government has.
Record high.
Record high of this fiscal year up to July. Okay, record high tax revenues that they've gained from us.
The business of government-sponsored theft is really good right now.
Yeah, it's real good. I mean, they're really stealing from us big time. The best they've ever done. But yet, there's still a $460 billion deficit that the government's ready. So they're stealing from us, and then they can't even afford to balance a budget. Okay, they're not only are they're spending $460 billion more than they're taking from us. Okay, and not to mention the debt we already have. I mean, do we even really need to go into that? So for them to even be spending money on trying to study, maybe there's going to be a civil breakdown. We need to study this, and this is going to cost.
They're engineering it.
Exactly. So we don't need to be allowed. It's unjustified. Okay, they don't need to be spending any money really at all on anything. We need to shut down the government at this point. They can't even balance a budget when
they refuse to.
Exactly. They don't. They want debt. They
want civil unrest because that's the only thing going to keep their criminal butts in power.
Exactly. They can just make an argument. Oh, it's not because we've engineered this and we're trillions of dollars in debt, and no countries are moving away from the dollar now more than just China and BRICS. All those countries that are involved with BRICS. Not just those countries. More countries now are moving away from the dollar. And so they need some kind of civil unrest or a war so that the American people change their because we have our eye on them. We're over the target. That's why they need the civil unrest right now to get the eye off of them, because we know that they are engineering this stuff. Okay, a lot of us, not everyone, obviously, but a decent amount of people know what's going on, and they can't have that. They need a distraction big time.
Well, at least there is some action to back off this police state. A Republican Representative Chris Stewart has introduced the bill H.R. 4934, which is entitled the Regulatory Agency Demilitarization Act, which would place a freeze on weapons purchased by all federal agencies with exception for those who have traditional law enforcement or defense tasking, such as FBI and U.S. Coast Guard. And that's a long time coming and very much needed because we know that the Social Security Office, the Department of Health and Human Services, all of them combined have purchased over 2 billion rounds of ammunition over the last couple of years. And why do we need that? These benign agencies, are historically benign, don't need this much ammo and firearms and all these tanks. Well, we know why, because they're engineering the collapse, and so at least this is going to put a freeze on it if it can pass. So we got to give them credit for at least trying to do something that may back off this increased militarization.
Yeah, folks, they're monitoring people's Twitter posts. Okay, they're monitoring they're monitoring Facebooks. They're censoring posts on Facebook and Twitter. And just for being an activist now.
They're censoring YouTube.
Everyone. They're censoring the internet, period. That's why they want these laws to be in place so that they can just legally get rid of people on the internet that they don't want, and then also tax you to be on the internet. Net neutrality. Ever heard of it? And so we need to start realizing that the internet, we need to save the internet and make sure that being an activist is not a threat to national security. We need to continue to be active because that's basically what they're trying to portray, is that, if you could be a terrorist just for protesting.
No, remember, DHS report says sovereign citizens are number one threat.
And remember, whoever identifies with Christianity, you are on the list of potential terrorists, or most likely to be a terrorist. It's just unbelievable, even though they are the biggest terrorists. They set up terror plots and then break them up to act like they did something. Come on.
The war on terror is a complete hoax, fraud.
We saw James O'Keefe, what a genius. But not only that, great activist. He's only about 29 years old, maybe. Just blowing it wide open, dressing as Osama bin Laden, walking across the river from Mexico into the United States, and just saying, hey, look, this is how easy it is for a terrorist, literally dressed as Osama bin Laden, to just come over into the States. It doesn't matter anymore. And so let's quit with this racket of war when we can't even... If you don't close the borders... Of course our country's at risk. Are you a moron? It says, seriously though, bombing the Middle East, and I was kind of critical of Bill Manders. I listen to him a lot. I agree with a lot of things he does say, but I'm sorry, I'm not going to stand for this warmongering of just bombing terrorist factions 15,000 miles away over a full ocean and 2 continents, and then say they're a matter of national security. I'm sorry, the border situation is literally national security. It should be the number one. That is the number one threat to our national security.
We'll get to the war, Stuart.
So I just can't. I'm sick of the warmongering and then not wanting to impeach the president, period, over just the border situation. Close the border, save the money from the wars and bombing the Middle East that we don't need to do. Close the borders. Let's get back to the Constitution.
Well, we're seeing censorship crank up here in California. The California state legislature, Democratic monopoly that they have here, has passed SB 962, which is a cell phone kill switch bill, which Jerry Brown's expected to sign under the guise of it protecting your cell phone from theft. And we know what it's really going to be used for is to quell domestic dissent and activists and citizen journalists out there speaking out against what's going on. When they see all this illegal government activity, they wanted to go ahead and just kill your cell phone so you cannot report on it.
They're saying that there's going to be a setting. Oh, there's going to be a setting that you can turn off the kill switch. Well, come on now, people. They can already kill switch it right now. They're just getting the law into place and then putting it into all cell phones so that it'll be easier, okay? They could really, I mean, they could turn off your cell phone right now if they really wanted to. All the smartphones, at least, they have back doors, okay? We know that. My cell phone turns on all the time, and it's off. It just turns on. Now, how does that happen? I didn't press the on button. That's because it just can turn on whenever it wants. It's mind of its own.
It's a spy device.
It is a spy device, and it's a tracking device. So they're going to mandate that the manufacturers put in these the kill switch.
It's the law.
Yeah, it's going to become the law. And I don't see how that is legal.
Jerry Brown, the tyrant, will sign it into law.
Yeah, he'll sign it and say that these...
It's for our own safety.
Yeah, of course. And it's protecting the consumer. Well, that's going to make the price of your phone go up. It's going to... well, think about it. I mean, whenever they want, they can just kill switch it, and it's legal, okay? Because you just didn't speak out against it, and you didn't tell the manufacturer, hey, I'm not going
Man,
to
forget
buy
that. I'll just keep my Android. I won't even upgrade.
You better not upgrade.
No, I won't.
They can do this police militarization, go in there, kill a whole neighborhood, and no one can record it because they use the kill switch.
Nope.
Exactly. And the thing is, they know that we have power, folks. We all have a camera on our phone, and we can record
anything.
What goes on. And in live time, we got citizen journalists reporting on Facebook what's going on all around. Fox News doesn't cover Ferguson. They don't go down there, but everyone else can with their phones. So they want to get rid of our freedom to communicate, and they're going to force the manufacturers, which I think is completely illegal. And there's going to be lawsuits, I would hope. I mean, it makes me want to actually go back to not having a smartphone and actually go to a company that doesn't do smartphones and just does, I don't know, Go phones or something. I mean, literally.
Carrier pigeons.
Let's go back to rotary phones.
Well, Germany did go back to typewriters.
They did.
Oh, wow, they did, huh?
Hey, maybe if that's what it comes to, we need to tell the free market while it's still,
And let's go back to
hanging
pagers.
by a thread, right?
Let's go back to pagers.
Maybe. Hey, maybe some walkie-talkies or something.
Yeah. Some two-channel walkie-talkies.
Or what is
CB
it?
radio.
What is it? Is it telegraphs? What was the telegraph?
I think it's called ham radio or something like that. Yeah.
Hey, you know what? We may have to. I mean, the government is literally passing laws so they can control your property.
Yeah,
the phone is your property.
Yeah.
And they are going. The justification is for maybe it'll get stolen. You can already track your phone. Yeah. You can turn on a setting and track where if it's been stolen, you can find out where it is. So there's no need for it. But you know what? It doesn't matter because half the people that have they probably think it's a good idea, But we need to be aware of this and be aware that we're being manipulated, and we're living in 1984, folks. Okay, so, but the manufacturers, it's going to be up to them, honestly. And maybe the free market, there will be a phone that emerges that a company will build that has no back doors, and the government doesn't have the kill switch on. And that's hey, if I were you, I would invest in that, and hopefully someone will be a venture capitalist and make it, because there's going to be a market for it. Folks, we got to take a quick break. Here's a word from our sponsor, FresnoForward.com.
Listen up, Fresno. Are you tired of boring local news coverage? Then log on to FresnoForward.com, the Central Valley's #1 source for independent, local, and alternative news and views. FresnoForward.com is updated daily, bringing you stories on government corruption, local activism, Fresno culture, and so much more. Did I mention FresnoForward.com has no ads or signups required? FresnoForward.com. You'll love it.
Folks, we're back. I'm your host, Stuart Webb, along with my co-host, Sam Chaney, and our producer, Woody.
Thank you.
We're in our third segment of Week 10. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate the support. Sam, what do we have for the third segment?
I'm going to cover some of the more absurdity from the federal government, some absurdity here in California. The corruption just goes on and on. The wars, economy. Stuart, we already know that they're issuing illegal aliens driver's license who can't even read English. Now they're going to go ahead and issue robots in California. The Google cars are going to go ahead and get driver's license now. So I would say that it's going to be pretty dangerous out there on the California highways because you have robots and people that can't even read the road signs driving around. And so watch out because driving is a very dangerous thing now, and it's going to get a lot worse.
I just think our laws when it comes to traveling on roads that we pay for are just, they're already unconstitutional. But then you add in the robot car mix. How is a police officer going to ticket a driverless car, a robot car? Oh, they can't. Oh, because they're insured, by $5 million. They're insured, and if they kill people, whatever, it's no big deal. No one goes to jail. See, that's the problem, is that someone kills someone while driving, they go to jail, okay? Or they're charged with something. But a driverless car, how are you going to send them to jail? Can a ban driverless cars? No, they're making them legal, and they're allowing. How does a robot get a driver's license? Okay, that just doesn't make any sense.
How does somebody who can't even read the road signs get a driver's license?
Exactly. So they have. It's just unbelievable.
It's insanity here.
It is. And is that the solve? Is that the solve to our economic problems? No, I don't think so. Now, would they be convenient if we didn't have an Orwellian police state that was also a welfare communist state? Then it would be a cool technology. Hey, jump in a car. It'd be like your own personal taxi. Yeah, I would like for us to get to that point where, they don't have back doors built into them and you actually control them. But then also they control themselves for the most part. And you're able to do work while you're on the way to work or whatever, make phone calls. There's uses for technology, okay? But they're not putting them in there. They're not putting these cars on the road for the betterment of society, okay?
It's to dehumanize
us, get us off the road driving our own cars.
Agenda 21.
And then, of course, they're going to be able to control. How do you think they issue a driver's license legally? How is that even legal? You're issuing a driver's license to a robot, okay? So even if it's somehow proven in studies that they're safer than us, we've seen drones. They're supposed to be completely safe, right? Oh, yeah.
They kill a lot of people.
Yeah, they crash all the time and actually kill people, okay? And what happens if, a malfunction happens and a missile just fires into a building?
That'll be next. They'll militarize the Google car and arm it.
Now, will they put on trial Big Brother? Will Big Brother be on trial when these robots accidentally kill people or purposely kill people? What's going to happen? You can't try robots for murder. So it's just getting ridiculous. And I would definitely speak out against this and not buy into it. It's a fraud.
You know what's another fraud here, Stuart? Out of the federal government, the State Department is hiring a company to prep officials before they go and testify before Congress. The State Department has reportedly approved a contract worth up to $545,000 to train officials to effectively testify at congressional hearings. That means they're training them how to lie. And our tax money's paying for them to train their people to lie to Congress. This is treason.
Yeah, a woman in the article, I believe from the taxpayers, like a taxpayers watchdog company, said, well, it shouldn't be difficult for them to testify. They just need to tell the truth and be honest. And that is exactly true. And we're literally paying for our own destruction constantly. Okay? First, we vote for Leland Yee, 380,000 votes to someone who's an indicted criminal selling guns to Islamic terrorists while promoting support gun control as his platform. And so our taxpayers, over $500,000 of our tax money is going to pay, like Sam said, to pay for our Congress people to learn how to lie professionally. What else is there to say?
Stuart, it's out of this world. Wow. Agenda 21 now. Threat to frogs put Tahoe forest thinning on hold. And so in Tahoe, and we had the same issue here in our Sierra Nevada National Forest. In Tahoe, the U.S. Forest Service will postpone a tree thinning project intended to decrease wildfire risk at Lake Tahoe after a lawsuit raised concerns about its effect on the endangered frog species. And we saw the same thing here, and they swore up and down that these endangered species listings would not end public access. And to my knowledge, it hasn't. But in Tahoe, they are going to have more forest fires because the frogs are not going to allow them to do the tree thinning, which we know needs to happen to prevent forest fires. It's very taxing to even go over this story, but we have to continue to cover it because of how absurd it is. The frogs are going to die in the forest fires, folks. So it's absurd.
I didn't even think about it that way, but that just basically lays it out. Look, if there's fires, the frogs are going to die anyway. Can we not attempt to clean out the forest, cut the acreage of the trees on an acre, cut it down to what it should be, about 100 trees per acre, what it's supposed to be? The forests are overgrown.
The laws are already on the books. The Healthy Forest Restoration Act is already on the books to allow them to do this, and they are not following the law that's already on the books. So that's another fraud by our federal government who wants our forests to burn.
Yeah, that's why the Endangered Species Act, I'm sorry, people, it is a fraud, okay? It just is a fraud. We are choosing, as we've said before, we're choosing these animals over humans. I mean, it's like, I want to ask this biologist, honestly, that is suing the U.S. Forest Service because for this endangered frog, suing for a frog, guys. I want to ask him what his stance is on abortion, honestly. And I don't really want to bring this up, but I'm going to. I mean, I wonder if he's pro-abortion. I wonder if he's pro-choice. So we are willing to save the frogs at the expense of people that are already, alive, but we're not even willing to fight for the kids that are unborn. Okay,
they care about the frogs. What about the trees? The trees are going to all burn up.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a tree hugger, you should be for the harvesting of some trees to save the other trees instead of burning down all the trees. I mean,
insanity. That's Agenda 21 for you in action. But Stuart, let's move on here to the wars. Oh yeah, we fund Al-Qaeda, which is ISIS or ISIL.
ISIL, what is it? IS.
Yeah, that's what Lindsey Graham said. He doesn't even know the name of it, but he's ready to go bomb them. Our condolences, like this article says, out of Zero Hedge to the Iraqi people because going back to 1990, George H.W. Bush began attacking Iraq with Operation Desert Shield. And then in 91, we see Operation Desert Storm. And in 91, they also implemented a no-fly zone, which is an act of war. In 91, Operation Provide Comfort 1 and 2. In 1992, Operation Southern Watch. And then we move into the Clinton presidency. Clinton in 1993, Operation Onward. In 1996, Operation Desert Strike. In 1997, Operation Provide Comfort, Operation Northern Watch. In 1998, Iraq Liberation Act. In 1998, Operation Desert Fox. Then we move into the George W. Bush administration. In 2002, Operation Southern Focus. In 2003, Operation Iraqi Freedom. And then we move into the Barack Obama administration. In 2010, Operation Iraqi Freedom continues. In 2010, Operation New Dawn. And in 2014, launched humanitarian and military operations in defense of American and Iraqi civilian targets in Iraq to slow advances of the Islamic State, which we fund command and control. Stuart, wow. We owe the Iraq and the Iraqi people our condolences because I do not support any of this.
Well, Madeleine Albright, I believe, said in the 90s that it was worth it to kill the 500,000, due to sanctions that our country put on Iraq. 500,000 Iraqis died, okay? And it was worth it. It was worth it. What people don't understand is they don't understand where Iraq is on a map, first of all. They don't understand why we're at war with them. Most people will just, that don't understand pre-9/11, they don't understand anything. So they just say, well, 9/11, the terrorists, 9/11, Bush, we got a national security. Okay, we funded Iraq against Iran. We gave them chemical weapons to fight Iran in the 80s, okay? That's a fact. That's not even debated, okay? It's in Ron Paul's book. Documents have come out afterward. And we were also funding, building roads and in Soviet Union. I mean, we just fund all sides of everyone and then say we're enemies with most, but then also just change our mind all the time. Really, it's just about funding both sides. So we need to inform the public, start informing the public that we funded Iraq and put Saddam in power. So, and it's not debated. We gave the Iraqi military chemical weapons to fight Iran, which killed a lot of Iraqis. I mean, a lot of Iranians, thousands of them. So, but then, Saddam doesn't do what we want. Oh, we're just gonna bomb him. We're gonna put sanctions on him. We're gonna have no-fly zones. Just basically operate like it's a war zone, but we're not at war, okay, with them. We're just international policemen. I mean, whatever you want to call it.
There were no weapons of mass destruction. There was no yellow cake uranium. There was no throwing babies out of incubators. All that propaganda to get us in that war was all lies, and it's a war crimes. I mean, the United States military, the Bush administration, all these administrations are guilty of war crimes, okay? The rest of the world knows that. America needs to slap themselves in the face and wake up to this fact. We are not some great freedom fighters over there liberating the Iraqi people. We have brought them nothing but pure hell over the last 20 years, and it's disgusting, all right? Stuart, the world is degenerating at a rapid pace. 11.7% of the world's population is now at war. And that is all designed to distract us against this debt-based fiat monetary system controlled by the central bankers to cover up the fraud that they've committed against humanity. And we see that the United States is sending troops now into 35 African nations. Okay, we are the empire of the world now, the last standing one, and we are degenerating at a rapid pace. And to disperse our military forces all over the world is a bad idea when our borders are wide open. We are only breeding hatred toward the United States, and we will suffer the consequences of blowback.
So 4,000 soldiers are going to be going into Africa, into, like Sam said, these 30 countries.
35 countries.
35 countries. And our Green Berets are going to be training them. It's not our job to train African soldiers to fight terrorists that we fund, okay? It's not our job, and we need to speak out against it. This is just, look, it's just another venture for these globalists. Oh, we're going to go into this country. They're just going to destabilize all countries, and then a nuke's going to go off in a few countries, and they're going to say, well, we got to bring in global government, or we got to basically make the North American Union, and we've got to do all this and that. And we can't afford to have sovereign nations because it's just too dangerous.
Freedom is dangerous.
Freedom is, I mean, that's what people don't understand. And the thing is, freedom is at some level dangerous, but you know what's more dangerous? Not having freedom is actually more dangerous. Living in an authoritarian society, okay, an Orwellian state, that's more dangerous than freedom, okay? You can't there's no guarantees in this life, by the way. You either want to live free or live as a slave. So African invasions, speak out against it. It doesn't need to be happening. They're going to call it humanitarian purposes, and that's just ridiculous. It's a fraud. Folks, we got to take a quick break. Here's a word from our sponsor, FresnoForward.com.
Listen up, Fresno. Are you tired of boring local news coverage? Then log on to FresnoForward.com, the Central Valley's #1 source for independent, local, and alternative news and views. FresnoForward.com is updated daily, bringing you stories on government corruption, local activism, Fresno culture, and so much more. Did I mention FresnoForward.com has no ads or signups required? FresnoForward.com. You'll love it.
Folks, we're back. I'm your host, Stuart Webb, along with my co-host, Sam Chaney. Down to our last segment of the hour and of the week. Thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate it. We hope that you will spread the word and promote freedom and liberty, because that's really what we need in order to have a future. Sam, what do we have on our last segment?
Stuart, we have some disturbing news about the economy. I'm not here to bash people on public assistance, but I am here to say that this welfare state will collapse, because you cannot sustain a society where more people work than don't work. I mean, and so we're at the point now where welfare is a better paying entry level job in this country in 35 states, and that's disgusting, because that's not the American way to be on the public dole. Folks, we need to learn from history. The Soviet Union wasn't that long ago. Nazi Germany wasn't that long ago. Those are hellish totalitarian states that oppress their people at the point of a gun, to the point where no one even wanted to work because there's no incentive to go to work for the collective. And that's where they're taking us with this welfare state. Look at the Soviet Union, for God's sake, folks, wake up. Yeah, the equivalent of working in Hawaii, the #1 welfare state in the union, you can, with all the benefits combined, you can go ahead and earn $60,000, and equivalent of a $29 an hour job in Hawaii if you can collect all the government benefits. That is not freedom. That is economic slavery in a welfare state, and it's disgusting, and that's not America. That's Soviet Union.
It's a great living. You'd think that they'd be retired, but they're not. They just don't have a job and never had one, probably. Yeah.
What's the incentive to go to work when you can earn up to $29 an hour on government assistance?
Yeah, I mean, it's our utopian society. Look, that's all going to end, folks. Okay, 60 grand. And I'm sure there's people that probably
they're maxing out benefits.
Oh,
for sure.
They're getting a ton of welfare, government assistance, all kind of. They just know how to work the system, get as much as they can, and hey, hell, maybe they go on the corner and ask for money because they're just that much of a degenerate. And I feel sorry for those people, because honestly,
it breeds
when it
corruption.
Yeah, and they figure, hey, why not? And then they also think that they're a victim, which is sad. But that's all going to end, and those people are going to be they're not going to be better off when this ends. And so I'm not really mad at them. I'm sad for them, because if
they're
you
wards of the state at this point.
Yeah, at this point, and they are a slave. And I'd be surprised. Anyone who knows what's going on would never actually abuse the system like that. Okay, anyone who's actually smart and informed. I mean, you would, unless you have just no conscience at all. Then maybe you could do it. But ultimately, this is all going to end. These businesses, small businesses, are going to just give up at some point. And then even all that free stuff that you're getting won't even pay for the stuff that you want, because prices rise so high. So really, you're going to just be even poorer than you were before. But also you've spent so much time being on the dole that you don't know how to go get a job. You don't know how to work. You don't know how to provide for yourself or your family.
There's not even an incentive to.
And as prices rise and welfare continues to go up for the population, you're going to get less, and more people are going to be on the dole, and then you won't be able to get all the stuff that you wanted, but then you'll still not want to go to work, because there won't be hardly any jobs, and there'll only be entry-level jobs that won't hardly pay for anything anyway. So it's going to just a degeneration of our economic system, our free marketplace, completely just shriveled up, and that's just ridiculous. 60 grand. I mean, come on.
That's the top in Hawaii, but that is an example of what a collectivist state brings to you. Nothing but welfare.
It's 3 years of work for me.
Degeneration into collapse, because there is no incentive for anyone to go out in the free market and try to earn a buck when you could sit back on your butt and earn 60 grand in Hawaii on welfare. The lowest one on this list of our of 51, including D.C. There's 50 states, and you got D.C., which is not a state. But the lowest one on this is Idaho, where entry level you would be earning $5.36 an hour for a total of $11,150 a year, and that's no kind of way to live.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point, it's just small businesses can't operate with the taxes, and that's why you have to, and even in these places like Idaho, usually they're business friendly, but still, the economy is that bad, and the federal government has such an overreaching, power, has such overreaching power that it's hard to operate anywhere, really. And I mean, there's a war against energy. I mean, really, we're not energy sufficient. We're not self-sufficient as far as our energy policies go in this country, and that's unacceptable. So we need to start moving out of these welfare states and start creating even a better business climate for these low tax states.
Stuart, the fraud that our economic sanctions are against Russia because, we look tough, we're putting economic sanctions on them. Well, no, if you look at what they're doing is actually cutting off the food supply to the people. When they let Exxon, who's run by the Rockefellers, go ahead and drill in Russia, and so where's the sanctions against that? There are none because the globalists will not pay for this. The everyday people are the ones who are going to pay for this new Cold War that we have going on with Russia.
Yeah, and these companies like Exxon, they're above the law. Remember, you know what fascism is? Remember what that is? That's what we are. That's what we've been. Okay, we're not a capitalist society.
Not free market.
We're not free market. Are you kidding me? People want to bash corporations, bash the government and corporations operating together to literally eliminate the free market and your opportunity. Okay, Exxon just outside of law, just doesn't matter. They're not gonna. You think the government's gonna do anything about that one? No, highly doubt that. So all you liberals out there, just just because there's corruption in government there's more corruption in corporations. How about corporations and government acting together corruptly, okay, against the law? I mean, yeah.
It's a fascist state. It's a Orwellian nightmare that we find ourselves in. And only freedom and liberty in the Bill of Rights and Constitution can save this republic, and that's what we need to get back to. Some more reporting about the international banker scum that have put us in this position. The International Bank of Settlements had a meeting this week. They have one in August and October in Basel, Switzerland, to plot more of our demise. And to give you a little insight about how they're living, laughing at the rest of us, these elite international bankers are fully serviced by a permanent staff of about 300, including chauffeurs, chefs, guards, messengers, translators, stenographers, secretaries, and researchers, all at their disposal during their meeting in Basel, Switzerland. And so these international bankers who have created all their wealth out of fraud and the fiat debt-based monetary system that they rule over are having a meeting about how to further swindle and steal from the American public. And it's about time that we wake up and back away from their systems and stop doing business with their multinational corporations, stop using their debt notes, and those are big solutions right there. Boycott these people because they want you dead, and they are killing us economically right now, and sooner or later they're going to physically come and kill us. So we need to stop doing business with our number one enemy, the international bank cartel, known as the Bank of International Settlements, who ties right back to the Federal Reserve, because they're all in the same cartel in a closed loop of central banking fraud.
Like the Rothschild said years ago, give me control of a society's money supply, and I care not who writes the laws. And that's true. I mean, because think about it. You can just print money, and all this new money that the Federal Reserve is legal, remember? They could abolish it if they wanted to abolish the Fed, but Congress won't do it. The federal government... the Federal Reserve can print money and give it to select whoever they want, and they get that new money that's worth a lot of money. And it doesn't matter what the price, it doesn't matter the amount. They can give it to their select insider or to their buddy that owns that business, and their business is going to get that money first at just for free. It's a bailout basically, or a loan that you don't have to pay back. Okay. And that's how all these guys get so rich, is that they control the money supply, and the public doesn't understand it, so that they just think that you can't change it. But really, that's how they can pay for all these lavish getaways where they living like kings. Okay. Because, but that's all probably going to end for them too, for most of them, except the select insiders.
So these international bankers who we continue to tell you are at the top of the pyramid, at the number one criminals, you could say, right out of a comic book, because I mean that's how they act and they operate. Anyway, they run the UN, the EU, the NAU, the IMF, the WBC, the CFR, NATO, the WTO, the OECD, the WHO, and our U.S. military at this point. They are running the world through their fraud, and we need to continue to call them out on it and say we're not going along with this any longer, or they will drive us into despotism and collapse. And we see all around the world they're using their destabilization programs funded with their fake money system. So the only way that we have right now to nonviolently overthrow them is to not go along with their systems. Just don't comply.
Don't comply. The UN it's the architect project for the globalist government. Okay, and any humanitarian project they have, it's a fraud. They're only doing that to spend your country's money to then bring down your country's sovereignty. And there's nothing good about the UN and all these globalist organizations that are ran by the UN and all these elite bankers. They want to destroy sovereignty, and they want to destroy you. They don't like you. They want to end. They want to selectively end humanity.
Look at the Georgia Guidestones.
Yep.
They want to depopulate so they can more easily control us. And we see them bringing in the robots so they don't even need human labor any longer to work in their slave factories. So we're back to some good news now. In Milwaukee, they actually elected a sheriff there that is pro-Second Amendment. The Milwaukee County Sheriff won decisively in the election there. Sheriff David A. Clark Jr., and he's an outspoken advocate for the Second Amendment. He says, crime's out of control. What's the answer? Arm the public.
Yep, and that's what needs to happen. I own multiple guns. Everyone should too. Exercise your rights. Things are collapsing. Unless you want your neighborhood to be like Ferguson, you need to start arming yourselves and get comfortable with the idea of using it one day, using that gun to protect yourself, because it could happen at any time.
First, you need to fight in the info war, though,
yes, agreed.
And that starts at home. Speak to your friends and family, and then outreach from there. Speak to your coworkers and spread the message that we need to fight as harder than ever to keep our Bill of Rights and Constitution in place and this a sovereign nation, or we will collapse into one world government, which is what they are engineering. Some more good news here, Stuart. I don't know if it's good news, but yeah, it's semi-good news. The beekeepers in Mexico have won a lawsuit against Monsanto, so that's semi-good news, even though we know Mexico's corrupt beyond imagination. A small group of beekeepers in Mexico has inflicted a blow on the biotech giant Monsanto, which has halted the company's ambitions to plant thousands of hectares of soybeans genetically modified to resist the company's pesticide Roundup. And so a judge in Mexico ruled that they're going to halt soybean planting in Mexico. So that is very good.
Folks, continue to speak out and fight tyranny whenever you can, okay? When the police pull you over, just be cooperative, but exercise your rights. Don't let them search your car without a warrant. Don't let them come into your house without a warrant. Start exercising your rights. Speak out like me and Sam do, and a lot of activists here in Fresno. Speak out every week, every day that you can. Tell your friends and family what's going on. We can ease the pain when the pain comes, because the pain's going to come. Folks, it will end.
Don't be a rat. Don't be a snitch. That's a big
Sharpton.
part of it. Don't get into this rat snitch culture that they're trying to create. One more piece of news about the GMOs in Oregon. The biotech industry